house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 19 updates and spoilers. We have a few house guests of the day today, and we will every day until the end of the season, because we got to do some squeezies to make sure everybody gets in here. So today's house guests are Peggy Reed, Kevin Watkins, Emily Steele, and a special thanks to Kenny D, who has been super generous to us the past few years. We could not do this without you, so thank you so much for your support and all of the amazingly long comments. We love reading them. So thank you, all of you guys, so much for the support. And if you guys want to be house guests today, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. Alright, so real quick, last night on the pre-taped episode, we saw that Alex was evicted. They did end up going ahead with a split vote. Josh had to break the tie. He sent Alex packing out of there. Now, the feeds were down when they decided that they were going to do this split vote, so we don't know exactly what the thinking was here. I'm a little bit surprised that they did that because Josh was acting pretty sketchy the last few days. I would be nervous to make it a split vote and leave it up to Josh because he was contemplating at one point getting rid of Kevin and keeping Alex and going after Paul and Christmas. So I'm surprised they went that route. I'm thinking they were trying to do that to mess with Kevin, to make sure he was like, ugh, for the HOH competition. Also, Paul's like, hey, Alex, I voted for you to stay, so just keep that in mind. So, of course, Christmas went along with it because that's what she does. So then after that, we saw that Paul won the HOH competition, which means he's going to the final 3. He's passing go. He's collecting 200. He's collecting 500,000. Let's be real. Now that he's made it into the final 3, what are the chances that Josh or Christmas will beat him in the last HOH? I mean, it could happen, but okay. So then we also find out that the polls are now open for America's Favorite House Guest, and I feel like more people are talking about this than who's going to win this season. I think it's pretty much set, unless the jury is super bitter, that Paul's going to win the grand prize, but now everybody's like, oh my god, who are you going to vote for America's Favorite? It seems like it's going to come down to Cody and Kevin. We'll see, I don't know. Alright, so then the feeds came back after the show at 9 p.m. Big Brother time, and it was perfect timing. This is a real yawn, by the way. Oh, I'm so sorry. Paul, Christmas, and Josh were all asleep in the HOH bed when the feeds came back. Are you kidding me? It was like Christmas, then Paul with his legs open, then Josh. It was like really freaking weird. But Kevin was downstairs by himself. He was dancing around with his ice cream. It really reminded me of Mr. Bean. And he was showing it to the camera. He's kissing the bowl. It was a lot of fun. We need more of that on the feeds. But anyway, he's all by himself still. Are you surprised? Because I'm not. So eventually, Paul gets his ass up and does a little friendship chat monologue in the Apple Lounge. So he's like, alright guys, this season was super difficult, but I like that I was forced to play a completely different game this time because obviously couldn't do the same thing I did last year. People would figure it out. Well, remember how like all season Alex was saying that Paul couldn't turn on people because his thing was friendship? So I guess she was assuming him to play the same game, but So he's saying this year he had to be more strategic. He couldn't just be in survival mode the whole time like last season. And he was always like 10 steps ahead of everybody else, which is pretty true. Yeah, he was. So he said he had other people doing his dirty work. He got other people to blow up and become bigger targets than him, and he put the blame on other people for certain things, like when he pinned the $25,000 on Ramses instead of Kevin, things like that, you know, all these rogue votes throughout the season. So he had a hand in a lot of those, and he said pretty much everything he wanted to happen, happened, and I have to agree, like, yeah, he played a really puppet masterful game here. He did come in with some advantages. Being the only vet, people were like, are you God? Also, he had the freaking friendship bracelets. He was safe for the first 3 weeks, but I mean, that's America's fault for voting for him, but still, you know, he had some advantages, so I could see both sides of it, but I have to admit, with what he was handed, he did a really great job. So he says that he's planning on taking Josh all the way to the end, and he's not sure how the jury feels, but he's hoping it's going to be a clean sweep and he's going to win 9-0. I actually think that Josh has the best chance out of anybody to beat Paul. I mean, it could still be a total freaking blowout, but if anybody's going to have a chance against Paul, I think it's going to be Josh. Kevin, I don't see it happening. Christmas, definitely not. But I think Josh could maybe make an argument just because he played such a freaking bizarre-ass game calling everybody out. But then again, Paul was behind all of that, so I feel like Paul should get the credit there. But I hated that gameplay, but whatever. So anyway, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Paul says that he has 8 competition wins so far, and that confirms for us that he did win the final power veto, as expected. And he says if he can win part 1 and part 3 of the final HOH, he'll be up to 10 wins, and he can use that when he is pitching his case to the jury. So we also find out that he nominated Josh and Kevin, but like it doesn't matter because the thing that matters this week is the veto. It doesn't matter who goes up on the block. So Paul is saying, what? Paul says that he's the only vet this season and yet he never touched the block. I have an issue with this when he says it just because he would have gone up week 1 had he not had the pendant of protection, but then again, he was given that, you know? You could argue both ways on that, but technically he would have been up. Okay, so then blah, blah, blah. He's thanking his family, his friends, and his fans for supporting him, and he says if asked, he would play again. No thanks. Twice was enough. But you know, though, if they do end up doing an all-star season with all vets, maybe it would be interesting to see how he would do against them. To see how he would do against the real players and not the followers that he was with this season. It would be interesting. Okay, so then Christmas joins him, tells him how amazing he is, and I'm out. Okay, the rest of the night was just BS. Nothing of interest really happening. So then today, it's eviction day again. Like, we just got rid of somebody, but it's time for another person to go. So Kevin was not given the heads up that he's going to be going. Paul, Christmas, and Josh are going to stick together and go to the final 3. I'm sorry if you guys are fans of them, but like, I can't. So I don't think Kevin even asked Christmas if she was going to keep him, which is really bad gameplay on Kevin's part. He does have a bad habit, like some of these other people we saw this season, of just asking Paul, like, am I okay? And then they just take whatever Paul says and that's it. You know, there's no further campaigning or anything, so he should have at least asked Christmas what was going on, or Josh, just in case Paul used the power veto. But Paul and Kevin were talking in the HOH room, and Paul is going to be avoiding the blame yet again. He is not going to use the veto, so that means that Christmas will be the sole vote to evict this week, and Paul is telling Kevin that Christmas is voting out Josh, and that she said that to him. But that's a lie. The lie detector test determined that's a lie. She is going to keep Josh unless something insane happens. And they're trying to blindside Kevin here, which I think is really effed up because the last few people, they were like, oh, I really respect them and like, we're going to tell them. I mean, they didn't tell Jason, but they told Alex. You couldn't tell Kevin? Really? So, I don't know. It just seems like poor jury management to me because, you know, those people are all going to talk in the jury house during that round table. So I think Paul could have done way better with his jury management this season. That's what he screwed up last season too. So Paul is, you know, telling Kevin it wouldn't make sense for Christmas to keep Josh. Come on. This is a point in the game where you go, you know what? The 3 of us are working together. We're getting rid of you. Sorry. Alright. So anyway, a little while later, Kevin was telling Paul, you should get rid of Christmas. He's telling him that if you go to the end with Christmas, what? Lulu! If you go to the end with Christmas, she's gonna like pull some shit and say that she played like Derek's game or something. I don't see that connection at all. But yeah, I think Kevin just wants Paul to use the veto on him. And that's why he's saying to get rid of Christmas. Because I think if you were gonna get rid of anyone, it would make the most sense to get rid of Josh. Right? Because like Christmas, is she even gonna be able to compete in this final HOH competition? I don't know. But I think it would definitely be smarter to get rid of Josh. But you know that Paul is just like, oh, what? He's just humoring it. Alright, so like I said, unless something crazy happens, unfortunately Kevin's going tonight. It's going to be a rough few days without him on the feeds. And then I'm assuming they're going to start part 1 of the HOH competition tonight. And they used to show it on the feeds, but I feel like last season they didn't, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't again this year, because they didn't have a scroll on the top. Usually when they have an endurance competition coming up, they'll be like, watch it on the feeds after the show, but I haven't seen that yet, so it's not looking good for us. But we'll definitely have the winner of that tomorrow, or possibly later tonight if you want to check back the info for today's spoiler. But let me know who you guys are rooting for in the comments. If you were on the jury, who would you vote for? Say it's a final 3 and it's Paul, Josh, and Christmas. Tell me who you'd vote for. And that's it. Oh! I can't take it. So until tomorrow, much love.